I'm Jonah Bondurant, a member of the Social Justice Ministry, and my pronouns are he and him. El. Today we are present in person at the Admiral, at the lake, the 2U Sanctuary, and continuing to meet virtually using Zoom. We ask everyone's indulgence for the complications of a 3-part service. We're glad you are here, whichever way you are attending. If you're in the sanctuary and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available. Please see our tech team in the back. We welcome people to wear masks during the service. This practice prevents transmission of COVID-19 and helps us center the needs of those who are most vulnerable. We especially welcome newcomers and visitors this morning. Finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new to us today, please note that in the Zoom chat or mention it in person during conversation after the service. If you would like, there are blue mugs you can use to signal to others that you would like them to come up and say hello. We also always need people in the kitchen after the coffee hour, and that's a great place to see old friends and make new ones. Our worship today is led by Reverend Lydon, along with Ryland Rich as worship associate. Music is provided by Thais Braslavsky, Barbara Michael, and members of the 2U choir. Our time together requires a large group of people who make possible the worship, the music, and the technical production. They're listed in the order of service, and we thank them for their ongoing care of our congregation. I have a couple of announcements for you this morning. The 2U library is open today. It's in the basement at the end of the hallway. This Sunday, we will have the second installment of new member orientation. If you've been attending services for a couple of weeks or months and are curious about membership, please attend downstairs in the Fleischman Fellowship Hall. Reverend Jason will lead this week's session. Very important, next Sunday, we are worshiping together with First Unitarian in Hyde Park. The service starts at 10 a.m. This worship collaboration originally came to be as our music directors came together, and it extended to include the clergy as well. This will be a labor-focused service, and all are encouraged to take part in this service. Of important note, the First Unitarian service begins at 10 a.m. There will be no service here at 2U. Save the date, May 17th. The Finance Squad and Board will present the first draft of the 2024-2025 church year budget. We will get to discuss how the pledge drive did and clarify how this impacts the operating budget for next year. All are encouraged to participate and engage in this important process. I welcome Ryland Rich to lead us in our call to worship.
We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share. Whether you are joining us for the first time or for the 1,000th time, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. I invite you, when you feel ready, to take a breath in and out. As the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
In just a moment, Marion here in the sanctuary and Harris at the Admiral will light our chalices, the symbol of our faith. We light our chalices this morning with these words from Jewish Voice for Peace. Before the 8th and 9th plagues, we read, Pharaoh tells Moses and Aaron that he would let men go free, but the rest must remain enslaved. They refused Pharaoh's deal. Even though the Israelites were desperate and afraid, they would not abandon one another. They said, in essence, it's all of us or none. Our opening hymn this morning is number 215 in the Gray Hymnal and comes from the 14th century Jewish liturgical poet Daniel ben Judah, and is a versification of the 13th articles of Jewish faith drawn upon by the Mennonites. So I invite you to please rise in body or spirit as Thais plays it once through, and then we will sing verses 1 through 3.
The words are on your screen. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner conviction through struggles for justice and acts of compassion. Please join Barb Michael in singing our congregation hymn, number 123 in the Gray Hymnal, Spirit of Life.
Say young in body or spirit to join me up at the front for our time for all ages. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right. Right now, we are in the middle of Passover, a Jewish holiday that commemorates the end of the Hebrews' slavery in Egypt a long, long time ago. And some of you may have joined the Seder that we had here last night. So a Seder is a big feast that often happens towards the beginning of the Passover week. And during a Passover Seder, the youngest child usually asks 4 questions. And we are going to ask and answer those 4 questions today. All 4 of those questions help us answer one big question, which is, why is this night unlike all other nights? So, asking our first question, I'm going to hand the mic to Zella, or hold the mic for you.
Why is it that on all other nights during the year we eat bread or matzah, but on this night we only eat matzah?
Thank you. So we only eat matzah because it symbolizes the fact that when the Hebrews were escaping Egypt, they had to move really quickly and did not have time to let the bread rise. Okay, our second question, Noah.
I said on all other nights eat all kinds of herbs.
So why do we only eat bitter herbs? And we only eat bitter herbs to represent the slavery that the Hebrews escaped from. Our third question, Marion.
Why is it that on all the other nights we do not dip our herbs even once, but on this night we dip them twice?
We dip twice that it represents our comings and goings in and out of Egypt. And our fourth question, Lumi.
Or colliding. I forgot that again. I did that.
Thank you, Lumi. So we eat in a reclining position, to remind us of the way that free people relax. Reclining means sitting down or sitting back, relaxing. Great question. Thank you all for joining me. To those of you that celebrate Passover with your families, I hope you enjoy. For those of you that don't, and maybe this was all brand new, I hope you learned just a little something about Passover and its rituals right now. So thank you for joining me, and we'll go ahead and sing the children to our classes, and hopefully I'll see you in the garden afterwards for a little bit of marigold planting.
So each year, we all make a commitment, a pledge to support the ministry of this, our congregation. In addition to this pledge that we make, we take a collection every Sunday so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. In just a moment, you will see a phone number on your screen, and there's one in your order of service as well, so that you can make a text contribution if you so choose. For the month of April, we've been sharing our plate with the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization. And over the last 2 months, we've heard quite a bit about their work, and I'm so grateful for all that you have given to ensure that they can do the amazing work that they do. However, on the last Sunday of the month, we make sure that we can hear some words from people within our congregation who are leading ministries and are in charge of committees or teams who are making the work of our church happen. And so this morning, we have some words from Jonah Bondurant from the Social Justice Ministry.
Good morning once again. I am Jonah, co-chair of Social Justice Ministries. Social justice has long been an interest of Second Unitarian. Our purpose is to promote, support, and facilitate social justice interests and ministries of the congregation, consistent with UU principles and purposes. We have our general meeting on the 4th Monday of the month. All are welcome. You can go to the 2U calendar for the Zoom information. And you can email our Director of Administration, Brandon, at the office at secondunitarian.org email to get on our email list. Again, all are welcome. We have a couple of other things that we do every month, including Chicago Community Jail Support, which is the first and third Mondays in the evening at 26th in California. Those dates in May are May 6th and May 20th, and we are still looking for a couple of volunteers. Essentially, you'll be handing out necessary items for people leaving the jail and maybe helping them get home with a phone call or something. You can email Eli at elisander.com to sign up. We also have Social Justice Mondays, which is we do crafts and create care bags. It's a kind of a revolving theme each month on the second Monday, usually at the Admiral. So look out for upcoming announcements about that. We also get involved in a lot of different activities. Share the Plate is something that we help organize. So if you have ideas for organizations doing justice work in the community, please let us know. Alicia Obada is leading migrant support and mutual aid. We've participated in campaigns and canvassing for things like Bring Chicago Home. We've helped bring people out and inform people about the actions around Palestine support. And we have the Rainbow Railroad support team, which is getting ready to host an LGBTQIA migrant. And I could keep going. There's a lot to say, but we really invite everyone to these activities and to join our listserv and to help us grow and learn more. And I invite you to help us take action on an issue that is close to your heart.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our offertory words. The words are written in your order of service and are on the screen. This church is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
I want to invite you into the spirit of prayer or meditation. Let's begin by breathing together. Try to feel your feet on the floor, reaching all the way down to our earth, rooting you in this place, in this time, connecting you to our beautiful earth. Maybe feel your back resting against a chair. Embrace your amazing body. And just breathe. We begin always in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this, our beloved community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief and chronic pain, those struggling with addiction and illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is the care of children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty, for migrants who are fleeing and seeking, finding new homes in our city amongst many, we are with you. For students taking action around the country right now, bravely facing down police attacks, speaking out against genocide, we are with you. Pray for all those living in harm's way. Pray for our planet, and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. Pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are truly blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. Into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you now to speak aloud the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of this community. Jack. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen. And blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles for joys and concerns, we want to continue to take care of one another. In the 2U sanctuary, in just a moment, I will invite you to come forward to light a candle. And as you end your time of candle lighting and contemplation, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those of us at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward and take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly in your hand, putting your energy into the stone, and then knowing your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. For those of us on Zoom, please join by sharing your joys and concerns in our chat window, and I will light a candle here to represent your celebrations and sorrows. We hold all of these, our shared joys, celebrations, concerns, and sorrows close to our hearts. Ryland, would you share our first reading, please?
Our first reading this morning is an excerpt from the article Leaving the Egypt Within by Mendel Kalmanson and Zalman Abraham. True to the spirit of his name, time and again, Moses, too, was emotionally impacted by the injustices he witnessed around him, leading him to draw out and rescue those suffering persecution. Unlike Pharaoh, Moses' heart was open and receptive to the truth before his eyes, regardless of how that truth might impact his personal life. Therefore, Moses is not just the political opponent of Pharaoh, he is the psycho-spiritual nemesis as well. His mission to bring the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim, Egypt, represents our personal struggle to liberate our soul potential from the grips of our own Mitzrayim constrictions. The overarching theme of escaping one's limitations reaches its crescendo in the climax of the Exodus, at the splitting of the sea. This miraculous episode has come to symbolize the notion that many of the obstacles we perceive in our lives that seem impossible or impassable are not truly insurmountable and can be overcome with faith, fortitude, and forward movement.
Our second reading is Dayenu by Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg. In what sense is each moment of liberation enough? Dayenu, Hebrew for it would have been enough, signifies deep acceptance and gratitude. In the affirmation of Dayenu, we are fully present to the preciousness of each act of redemption and care, dividing the sea, leading us across, caring for us in the desert. We receive each moment with love. This acceptance allows us to move to the next moment and receive the waiting gift. When we greet each moment with conditions, judgments, and expectations, well, this really isn't quite where we need to be. Or, wait a second, this isn't what we were promised. Or, hey, what's coming next? Our expectations keep us tense. We are not free. We are not available to receive the next moment. Our fantasies about the past and our desire to control the future cuts us off from the wonders of this moment. They shut us in a prison of disappointment and suffering. Dayenu is a great liberator. It is a jolt into the presence of awe, compassion, attention, and freedom. Let us hear today's music, Linda Hirschkin's Circle Round for Freedom.
Peace.
Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. It would have been enough. In so many ways, I love this phrase. In the move towards freedom, each step feels like it would have been enough. To relieve any degree of suffering would have been sufficient to keep surviving and survive anew. In the very common Passover song, Dayenu, the speaker assures us that if God's actions along the way from slavery in Mitzrayim towards freedom had stopped at any point, it would have been enough. The song itself is over 1,000 years old, and we sang it last night during our Liberation Seder. The original text can be found in a Haggadah, part of the Seder Rav Amram, again 1,000 years ago. There's clearly great wisdom in these words, wisdom that has traveled over the centuries. And I find myself wondering, would it really have been enough? Not only do I question whether God's actions would have been enough, but what of our own actions seeking our own freedom? When is it enough? The present day Exodus stories, those stories of us seeking freedom from oppression, when is it enough? Attached to an image of birds flying out of a prison cell, I have the words, "We will be free when all are free," tattooed on my left arm. Many of us have spoken the similar, "None of us are free until all of us are free," a phrase often attributed to Maya Angelou and Fannie Lou Hamer, though a version has been spoken of these words for centuries, including the 19th century Jewish American poet Emma Lazarus. And so, if justice is incomplete without everybody experiencing it, when would it have been enough? Or more importantly, when will it be enough? I'm going to wrestle some with this concept this morning because I do, personally. I go back and forth on it depending on the kind of liberation we are seeking. In our readings this morning, we hear the authors talking less about the material liberation of a collective people from oppression, and rather the freedom we seek from the narrow places in our own lives. The journey from personal bondage to personal freedom is a constant one. The reason Passover is honored year after year, the reason Seder happens in homes year after year, is not simply to remember the story of seeking freedom, but to honor the struggles of the present. Indeed, every year there is Pharaoh, but so too every year is there freedom. What is your current narrow place? What is the way that you are experiencing a constricting in your life? Maybe you are currently retired and striving to find new meaning in your life and struggling to decide what that might look like. Maybe you're deciding where to go to school and you feel stuck between decisions of what will be best for your future. Maybe you're in a job that feels like a dead end and you are unclear how to break free and find both meaning and financial stability elsewhere. Maybe you're a new grandparent, and while full of celebration about new life, are wrestling with what it means to be getting older and having new roles in the lives of your children. Maybe you're adjusting to an assisted living space and feel stuck with new limitations on what you get to do as your mind and body shift away from what you previously were doing. There are so many different ways we experience narrow spaces in our lives that we have to move through. And when we find moments of clarity, when we embrace possibility, when we take the risk of moving forward, we're starting to embrace freedom and liberation. And maybe each step is enough. Dayenu. Maybe each shift is sufficient, worth experiencing gratitude for, even as we search for greater freedom, a greater practice of liberation? Could it be that we embrace the concept of Dayenu in these moments? Could it be that embracing a framework of enough would bring us comfort? During some of my own challenges, I embraced a practice of gratitude journaling, something that a lot of therapists encourage. I bet some of you who are therapists have encouraged it to your patients. For me, the fact that I didn't take up drinking maintained my years of sobriety even as I was experiencing suffering. I wonder, was that an opportunity to embrace the concept of Dayenu? Each time I was able to get myself out of bed when it felt impossible to do, Dayenu. I wonder. Each time I was able to smile or chuckle when everything felt heavy or scary, Dayenu. When I remembered to go to my appointments, Dayenu. When is it enough for you? When is it enough for me? Is it one step through the narrow spaces? Is it 2 steps? Or what if I can't take a whole step, but simply crawl forward on my belly just a little bit? Dayenu. I wonder. Rabbi Bernblatt of the Velveteen Rabbi writes, "The state of spiritual exile in which each of us find ourselves, at least sometimes every person in every era, is, says Rabbi Netcham and Rabbi Nosson, like being caught in a snare in the dangerous desert with thieves and robbers and hungry wild beasts all about. If I were caught in a trap and needed to extricate myself before even greater danger came upon me, would I stop and worry where my next meal was coming from? Of course not," she says. If you're escaping a moment of hardship, can you embrace just that moment of escape? What if you were navigating an intimate partner abuse relationship and you were able to break free, not yet sure where you were going to live next, but sure that you were away from the person causing you harm? Could that feel like enough? What about taking the huge step of stopping the use of a substance that was causing profound hardship in your life, not yet knowing if it was going to be the last time, but knowing that the first step was liberatory for you, breaking you out of the narrow spaces of addiction? I wonder if Dayenu might be a practice of self-compassion, knowing there may indeed be more ahead, but grateful for that which has been transformed. We need not and we cannot accomplish everything at once. We can embrace a radical acceptance of that which we are accomplishing in the now. We are free, at least in this moment, from one part of this narrow space we might be trapped in. Isn't that worth celebrating and honoring? Part of the practice of Dayenu, it would seem to me, is an embrace of faith. I shared a story with you 3 years ago that I want to share with you again. Sharing the same stories can be helpful because we learn different things from them at different times. We use different framings to tell the same story because different frameworks facilitate new understandings. As the Midrash tells it, and you will notice I offer my own additional narration, while Moses was crying out to God and the Israelites were feeling terrified that Pharaoh's enemies would catch up to them, Naxon Amminadab moved forward towards the shore of the Red Sea. The sea was far, far too wide to simply swim across. There was no way they could all make it. So many of their children had been drowned in the Nile, and the trauma of the water reached as deep as the sea. Naxon, though, he removed his shoes and stepped forward into the water. Nothing changed. He took some breaths and took some steps, the cold water moving up his legs as a kind of relief for the anxiety running through his blood. And as the water reached his waist, everyone at the shore watched, holding breath, praying, unsure what would happen next. Naxon continued walking forward, not swimming, but taking deliberate steps, trusting, believing, knowing that freedom was on the other side. The water reached his chest, his chin. He noticed his own doubt, but felt firm in his faith and his commitment to act, to not give up. The water passed his lips. Moses continued to have his staff raised up high, and just as the water was about to reach Naxon's nose, the water trembled all around him. The sea was no longer up to his nose, not up to his chin. In seconds, the water was down to his ankles, and everyone was charging forward, rushing not only with the same hope they had moments ago, but a renewed hope, a deeper faith in themselves, in their own people. Throughout the commentary and the midrashes, rabbis remind their people that God does not act alone. The people must act. I think our Unitarian Universalist theology in the 21st century strives to teach us the same thing. We must cry out. We must feel all that we feel, and so too must we act, and act with faith, that we will uncover new and ancient answers to new and ancient challenges. There is, of course, so much more to this story. The crossing of the sea is neither the end nor the beginning. It's just part of the Passover story. The Israelites' march forward across the Red Sea was not only an experience of fear, it was also a moment of singing, dancing, and tambourine playing. Miriam, an often untold enough prophet, her leadership called the Israelites forward towards freedom, towards something new. Naxon's faithful action was but one part of a collective action. Sometimes we need someone to inspire us, to remind us of what is possible. I think about this when I imagine us moving out of any of the narrow spaces in our lives. While our journey may be our own, we take inspiration from those who came before us. We take inspiration from those who are in our lives now, who remind us that we are not, in fact, fully alone. We may need to make our own decisions and face some of the biggest challenges within our own selves. Other people have gone through something similar before and have wisdom we can learn from. Our responsibility is to reach out to the Naxons filled with faith. Our responsibility is to turn to Naxons around us and trust that their faith can inspire our own. We may even see the path before us opened up because the faith of another has already parted the seas before us. Rabbi Seth Goldstein writes, Passover does not mark slavery, it does not mark freedom, it marks the transition between the two. His words remind me of the title of a collection of Angela Davis's writings that we have in our library that's open today. Freedom is a constant struggle. As the rabbis tell it, the parting of the Red Sea did not happen by God's actions alone. It took human faith and action to do so. Not just faith, but risk. Naxon traveled all the way up to his nose, risking drowning to get him and his people free. He trusted God, but so too did he trust himself. trusting oneself? Could this also be something that makes us proclaim Dayenu? For those of us who believe in God, can that faith allow us to embrace a vision of Dayenu? And for those of us who don't, can trusting in the universe, trusting in our collective humanity, can that teach us to embrace Dayenu? It would have been enough. And when is it not enough? When war and genocide rage on, when depression and lack of self-worth engulf us, when racist police tactics steal the lives of Black people, when transgender women experience assaults in prison, when anti-Semitism continues to grow, when settler colonialism goes on without accountability, when our earth burns uncontrolled, maybe sometimes Dayenu is insufficient. Maybe we are called to push harder and proclaim loudly to God, to government, to each other. No, this is not, in fact, enough. We deserve more. We demand more. We will not stop until we are all free from all the narrow spaces that restrict the beauty of our humanity, the beauty of our planet, the beauty of our interconnected existence, the beauty of our individual selves, breaking free from all of those moments that are just so hard for us. And so maybe Dayenu, maybe low Dayenu, and maybe we dance between the two. As Passover comes to a close, let us struggle for our own freedom, for one another's freedom. And may we refuse to allow any of the pharaohs within ourselves, the pharaohs across the world, have the last word. The pharaoh in our own minds, the pharaohs who sit in thrones of power, the people will be free. All of us, all of them, and we will not stop till we cross the seas. Amen. And let it be so. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, number 146 in the gray hymnal, Soon the Day Will Arrive. You will hear the hymn played once through.
One. time. We wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
I invite you to rest your hands upon your hearts, or clasp hands with those you are sharing your life with, and recall that the final cup in the Seder is often to Jerusalem. And we must ask that what Jerusalem that is. Rabbi Brant Rosen offers us these words: the place where liberation is extended far beyond these walls, beyond the river, a Jerusalem of the heavens for all who dwell on earth. As we seek a truly just future rooted in accountability and transformation, may we question what is enough. May we celebrate that which is enough and struggle towards the liberation we seek. Go in peace, beloveds.